Hi everyone, welcome to today's class. Today we are going to learn the poem Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. As the title indicates, it tells about the importance of keeping quiet. Before we proceed to the poem, let us know something more about the Chilean poet, Pablo Neruda. Pablo Neruda is a pen name of Ricardo Eliezer Neftali Reyes Basalto, better known by his pen name and later his legal name Pablo Neruda, a Chilean poet, diplomat, a politician, and a Chilean senator who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1971. He was born on July 12th, 1904 at Parral, Chile, and died on September 23rd, 1973 at San Diego. So, Pablo Neruda became known as a poet when he was hardly 13 years old, and he wrote in a variety of styles, including surrealist poems, historical epics, overtly political manifestos, a prose autobiography, and a passionate love poem such as the ones in the collection 20 Love Poems and Songs of Despair. To know about him more, from the words of others, Neruda is often considered the national poet of Chile, and his works have been popular and influential worldwide. The Colombian novelist Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who wrote The Hundred Years of Solitude, once called him the greatest poet of the 20th century in any language. Now let us come to the poem Keeping Quiet. Pablo Neruda couldn't accept any kind of social or political domination and oppression. His poem, Keeping Quiet, is motivating initiation and a request to all human beings for quiet introspection as they are dividing themselves on the basis of race, color, language, and nationalities. It has a hint at the world wars and the Spanish War and the development of all destructive ways and the creation of bombs and Hiroshima, Nagasaki, all these destructive ways of the human beings of that period in mid 20th century can be seen reflected in the poem Keeping Quiet. This poem is presented in the form of an initiating process of meditation into silence for deeper introspection and self-correction. In the process of this silent introspection, poet thinks one will realize his self-annihilating mistakes and will break away from the chains of discrimination, hatred, massive destruction of humanity and nature, and will realize the need for a soul search and feel the strange togetherness of the entire humanity in silence, peace, and harmony. So, he is indirectly talking about the universal brotherhood and the global peace, which has been completely shattered in the rat race of the human beings or the people in power through wars and destructive ways, not only upon the humanity but upon the nature as well. So, this poem is a clarion call to the greedy world to introspect and realize the massive destructive thoughts and actions of them, to find that if the same greeds are not bridled and they did not get changed, they would not only destroy themselves, but will destroy the entire earth, where no human beings will remain alive to enjoy the victory of uncontrollable greed for dominance. And the poet refers it as a victory with no survivors in the lines of the poem. Now, silence. We know that the speech is silver and silence is gold. In the golden silence, one is fully with oneself, and in the best of the peaceful moments where he questions his actions, realizes its bad effects, and undergo a renovation of thought and actions. It changes him totally. So the writer the poet is trying to bring forth the same idea that we do not have peace. We do not have peace in mind. We do not have peace in the society. To create peace in ourselves is to be silent for ourselves or stop all the activities to realize what we have been doing. Okay, come out of the rat race of all the activities and think for oneself a while to realize how distracted we are and what is the real purpose of all our actions. Okay, men are crazily busy that they do not understand what they are doing and they don't know why they are doing it. That is what the enigma of life in the 20th century or even till today we have been undergoing. So the poet is looking for a new world of global peace and universal brotherhood. Okay, these are the striking words of the poem or the real theme of the poem. Through a silent introspection, through the process of meditation, keeping quiet, the poet is trying to bring that generating thoughts in the mind of the people, realizing their own destructive ways and mistakes, and which are threatening them with their own death. And this shock treatment will make them realize that it is high time that they have changed. Okay, so the poet here is trying an initiation for a thought process, for an introspection, for a better tomorrow with a global peace and universal brotherhood. Okay, so before we analyze the poem, let us read the poem once or twice to have a better understanding or better familiarization with the words and expressions that will help us understand the poem well and easily. Okay, you know, the poem was written in the 1950s. The exact date is not really recognized or identified. Written in the 1950s and published posthumously after his death in the year 1974. It was published in the bilingual collection and translated by Alastair Reid. Okay, once again, it was written in the 1950s. The exact date is not known, and it was published posthumously. He died in 1973, and it was published in 1974 collection, the bilingual collection, and translated by a writer called Alastair Reid. Okay, so it is time for us to read the poem once or twice. May I request all of you to go through the lines as we read it along. Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for a second. I'll not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We all would be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea wouldn't harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars with gas, wars with fire, victories with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. What I want shouldn't be confused with the total inactivity. Life is what it is all about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth can teach us, and when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive, now I will count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. So you know, from the beginning and the end, or the beginning and the end of the poem are almost the same. Okay, the process of meditation, initiation for introspection or meditation. Okay, so here what we see is the poet is calling attention of everybody to stop all their activities for a moment and keep quiet or be silent. Let us feel the strangeness of silence together. let us have such a kind of exotic moment of silence, a strange, sudden silence, which will throw us into some exotic moment of introspection. Okay, so let us read it again. Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. Now we will count to 12 and we all keep still. So we, it starts with we and end with I. Okay, so please note that as well. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for a second and not more. I'm so much. It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt wouldn't look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victories with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. What I want shouldn't be confused with the total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I will count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. All right, so this is what the poem is all about. Now let us go to the line by line details of the poem and identify the exact references and implications that the poet mean by the poem. All right, at the outset, let me tell you, this is a clarion call to all the greedy people in the world who are making wars, fighting wars, making destructive weapons and destroying nature, destroying themselves, to come out for a moment, stopping all their destructive activities, stand in silence together. The entire globe will be in silence. They will be together in a certain strangeness of silence. They'll be together wherever they are because they are together in silence. At this extreme moment of silence, they will realize a kind of unity, a kind of togetherness. At least this will force them to realize that everybody is equal, and whatever catastrophic or disastrous work or destructive work they are doing are of no help to them, neither to them nor to anybody. All their activities are destroying nature, destroying themselves, destroying humanity, and the kind of catastrophic end is that there won't be anybody to enjoy the victory they have achieved through this destructive ways. This is what the crux of the poem. Okay, so now let us learn it line by line. Hope you are getting to it. Always remember these expressions, universal brotherhood and global peace through introspection, realization, and changed action. All right, so now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. Still stands for silent. Okay, keeping quiet. Let us keep quiet for a while. Now we will count to 12. Now he says the need for urgency. Now it is time has been up here. No more wait anymore. Enough is enough. We have destroyed each other, one another, and destroying ourselves so much. So it is time, my dear countrymen, or my dear people of the world and humanity, it is time for us to realize now. If not now, and never, because we will destroy ourselves completely and there won't be a point in which we will realize our mistake. because we are in such a rat race for power, dominance, distraction, capturing others' property, others' nations, others' country, others' province, or others' property, others' resources. We are endlessly greedy, trying to confiscate others' things, okay, locally and globally. At this scenario of distraction, complete distraction, not only of the human beings, but also of the nature, which endangers or threatens one's own life, dear countrymen or dear brethren, it is time for us to introspect ourselves. So now, let us initiate a kind of regenerating process. Let us start a kind of process which will put us on a platform for meditating, realizing our mistake, and take action for a new global society of universal brotherhood and global peace. Peace is that all which enriches and generates life, not the war. So now we will count to 12. Let us together count to 12, and by the time we count to 12, we must be settling down for the process of introspection. Okay, so here the poem is written in the form of the poet initiating the people of the world for the process of meditating process, okay, for introspection, self-analysis. All right, introspection. So now I'm also together with you. I don't say that I'm not a part of these kinds of destructive ways. I'm also a part of it. So let us togetherness. Okay, so he strikes the word of togetherness from the very first line, and he doesn't keep himself away from this responsibility or these problems faced by the society. Standing as a part of this responsibility or these careless mistakes, the poet says, now I realize, so I would like my brethren, you to realize it. So let us together initiate the process of a great change, that is meditation for introspection. Okay, so now we will count to 12, and we will all keep still. By the time we reach number 12 from our count from 1, we will all get ready, settle down for the quiet introspection. People analyze or interpret the word 12 in different ways. Somebody says it is 12 months of the year. Somebody says it is 12 days, 12 months of the year. But let us take it as a kind of required little time for keeping our mind cool or keeping our mind under control, okay, for a silent introspection. Let us take in that way a short duration of time required for settling our mind and body for an introspection. Okay, 12. If you take 12 as months of the year, that means every year after year, it is not a one-time process of meditation, year after year, day after day, every time, every day. Okay, we should have this thought of introspection in our mind for self-correction. Okay, so now we will count to 12, and we will all keep still. So counting up to 12 is a short duration of time required for getting ready, settling our mind and body to the process of meditation. Simply, okay? We all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. For once on the face of the earth, we are all human beings on the face of the earth. Let's not speak languages. Let us be in silence, because silence unites us. Silence has no dividing languages, but silence has only one language. That's the language of unity. All right? In silence, we all are together. So silence is a unifying factor. So why don't we speak any language on the face of earth? The language when people speak language or languages, it divides. Okay, he's an Indian, he's a French, he's an American, he's a Chilean, he's an Australian. So we divide people based on language and country. So the writer says, the entire humanity is one being, one race. Let's not divide ourselves and destroy ourselves based on language. We know we have learned a lot, even in the first lesson, the last lesson, also linguistic chauvinism, linguistic barriers, linguistic divides, etc. We can say the nations are formed based on geographical factors as well as linguistic factors. So language is a dividing force. So let's not speak any language. Let's unite in silence. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Why does the poet say that we don't speak in any language? Because language divides people and create enmity among them or separate them from being together. Okay, so let's stop for a second. Now let us stop for a second and not move our arms so much. Okay, let us have some time without any activity. Let us stop all the rat race and destructive ways and all the activities that we are performing every second without rest, without thought. Let us stop that. For a moment, let us think. Let us stop for a while and not move our arms so much. Let us not stretch our arms so much. Stretching our arms so much is a symbol of confiscating territory or amassing property, or it simply stands for the greed of men. Stretching their hands so much to wider areas means walling in more and more properties and provinces, etc. Or it shows for the greed of people wanting more and more and more. Okay, so let us not be greedy. Let us stop all the activities. So the poet is striking the point that the human beings on earth today are under this distraction because each one wants to get more and have more. So he's battling, he's fighting, he's doing everything on earth in order to become richer or have to amass property or to dominate or to confiscate. Okay, in a minimum level from the condition of a fisherman, which is being said in the following lines, and the extensive ways of the countries bombing upon other countries, confiscating, making colonies, destroying, which was the very feature of the early 20th century, and still it is continuing. So he is looking at us and saying us, let us not move our arms so much. Let's not be greedy. Let's stop all the greedy activities, everything. Let us have a huge silence of unity on the face of the earth. So once again, for once we initiate the process of meditation and we all stand still on the face of the earth, let's not speak any language. Let's be silent, because language creates such a divide in the humanity. Humanity is bound by their nature, not by their destructive faculty of dividing and destroying. So let us stop for a while and introspect, and let's not be greedy. Okay, so image of extending our territory, moving our arms so much. All right, so let's go further. I hope you're getting the point. Then he says, if we stand out on the face of the earth, stopping all our destructive activities for a while and start introspection, it would be an exotic moment. It would be an amazing moment. It would be a wonderful moment. It would be a moment which you have never experienced. Exotic, not of this land. It is an out of land moment. It's a foreign moment. It's a kind of something which you have never experienced, such that an exotic moment. It would be an exotic moment. What would be an exotic moment? When all people stop activities, their destructive activities on earth, and completely everybody stands still for a meditation, introspection, and in the huge silence, in the massive silence on the face of the earth, all humanity together feel a certain unity. Okay, so that moment of unity, oneness, one for each other, each one for everybody, such a kind of togetherness will be always an exotic one. Why is an exotic one? Because the present humanity never feels such a kind of togetherness in silence, because they are never silent. They are always on the path of destruction, always greedy, confiscating things or accumulating things for themselves. Their greed never permits to be still or silent for a while. Okay, that much they are on the rat race. Okay, so rat race, where even the dead men lost their bones, we can say. Okay, we don't bother about our death, we don't bother about our illness, we don't bother about how we are physically affected because of our destructive activities. We just want victory, and we are crazy for victory, we are crazy for domination, we are crazy for power. But in that process, we forget to understand that we are killing ourselves, we are killing the humanity, we are killing the earth, we are killing everything. So there won't be any victory when there won't be any survivor to enjoy such a kind of futile victory that we are trying to achieve through all the destructive ways. Okay, so it will be an exotic moment. It will be a very beautiful moment with no rush, without any rush of machines or destructive ways or activities, without engines, without automobiles, without engines, without war, without destructive engines, without any of the activities. So without rush means it suggests that how people are indescribably rushy in a rat race of life to amass property and to ride on the greed without engine, without the sound of the engines, the machines and engines and things or destructive weapons. Also the reference to which will come in the next stanza. Without rush, without engines, we would all be together. So there is no activity on the face of earth. We are all united in silence, and you will realize that universal brotherhood and global peace in this extreme exotic moment of silence. How can we achieve this exotic moment? Through introspection. What should we do to have that introspection? We should stop all our activities, come out in clean clothes outside, stop all our activities, be on the face of the earth. Let us all feel the togetherness in silence. Let us meditate and realize what we had been or we have been doing and how dangerous these activities have been. Okay, so it would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together. See, always the word we. So he is a part of this initiating process, telling that he is also the part of these issues. He cannot, as a poet, he cannot escape from this condition. So we are all responsible for the present situation. So we all have to introspect ourselves. Okay, so let us start it together. If not now, then never, because we have gone that much towards the complete destruction of the humanity, that if we don't do anything now to prevent such a kind of atrocious greed, there won't be anything or anybody on the face of the earth to enjoy the victory, the so-called victory we preach and we praise and we're crazy about. This victory will be hollow, meaningless. Okay, that he tells in the next stanza. So I hope you could get some ideas about the poem till now, about the theme, what the poet is trying to tell us, how he is bringing forth the idea of an urgency in the people by making them realize what we have been doing all these days, which are completely against what we have to do, which are completely self-destructive. And he is continuing that self-destructive nature of the human beings within the implications in the following lines and words as well. So he talks about the greed of the human beings. Now he makes a kind of representative references to the greedy human beings. Okay, so the one is the fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt will not look at his hurt hands. Okay, so two images are fishermen in the cold sea killing whales, and the man gathering salt, destroying his own hands, hurting his own hands. Okay, so before that, let me invite your attention to the expression sudden strangeness. Sudden strangeness. What is the figure of speech there? Or why is it called a strangeness? Sudden strangeness is alliteration is there. And why is it called a strangeness? Because they have never experienced this kind of a peaceful silence of togetherness. Okay, so it is strangeness. Why is it sudden? Because the poet initiates such a kind of action suddenly. So it has altogether never experienced thing. All of a sudden, at once, they feel the togetherness. Okay, so now let us go to the images. Fishermen in the cold sea wouldn't harm whales. Fishermen stands for the greedy people, okay, who are destroying nature. Harming whales reference to destroying nature, okay. So the people who are destroying nature for their own benefits, their own greed, stop it. We are the species of nature is destroyed means we are destroying ourselves internally. We are destroying the marine population. We are destroying nature. We are destroying everything, and the cruelest animal on earth. Okay, so fishermen in the cold sea wouldn't harm whales, and the man gathering salt would not look at his hurt hands. That stands for a man gathering salt for his greed, destroying his own health. That means self-destructive ways of human beings. So we never realize that we are destroying nature and we are destroying ourselves. That's the meaning of this stanza. So selfishness of men to the core. Okay, so the poet is trying to bring forth the idea of the extreme human selfishness and extreme destruction of nature through these lines. I hope you got the meaning and implications of the line up to now. So I think I'll continue the next part of it in the second video and go through the poem once again. If you have doubts, please reach out to me, and I'll help you out to learn it better. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.